y'all, Taylor by Debbie here, and this week I'm going to teach you how to make a beautiful fall pumpkin mesh wreath. We're going to need some zip ties, we're going to need some deco mesh, and I like this fall mesh from Hobby Lobby. Okay, and then you're also going to need another piece of scrap mesh in a coordinating color for your stem. Going to need a pipe cleaner, couple of leaves, and I save leaves when I'm using greenery that I don't use the leaves on, so I'm going to use these two leaves, some ribbon of your choice, a pair of scissors, and some wire cutters. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do, we'll move all this stuff out of the way. We're going to take our mesh and a zip tie. Okay, we're going to unroll it just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and cut off that frayed edge here first. Let's see, it's just fraying a little bit right there. Let me just get a nice clean edge right here. Okay. Just going to cut this. I like to cut in between. You know, go straight up the line in between the squares. All right, that just gives us a nice clean edge on our pumpkin. And then we're going to come over here to the very last rib before the bottom one. Okay, and we're going to pull this mesh up, kind of fold it in half and pull it to this rib right here. And then we are going to zip tie this to that rib right here around the mesh, just to secure it on. Okay, right there. Then we're going to trim that off. Got a few pieces of fray. Anytime you cut mesh, it's going to fray a little bit. All right, so then we're going to fold this mesh in half. And we are going to come down here to the bottom of the outer rib, the one that's flat on the table. Okay, we want to bring this under, actually, like this. Okay. And then kind of folding it in half. And we're going to come right here. And we'll push that back under in just a second. We're going to secure it right here. Going to go down in here across the pumpkin wreath. And attach it on right there. Okay, and then we're gonna turn these kind of toward the center. These little plastic zip tie things. Okay, then we're going to just pull this mesh to where it's kind of halfway over that bottom. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring it all the way around the bottom. Okay, and we're going to secure it over here on this side. We're just kind of trying to make sure it's folded in half. It's going to just cover that bottom pumpkin frame. And we're going to be wrapping more mesh around this. But this just kind of gives us a foundation. Okay, and again, just kind of turn that toward the inside. All right, and we're going to finish up right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come above that and just cut my mesh off. I'm just going to come right up here. See about how much we need. So I'll cut it out right here. Okay. just going to fold it in half again and secure it right here. Just making sure you kind of pull that snug all the way around. Go down in there. Gotta flip it over. You always want the flat edge up on your zip tie so it'll zip. Okay, then we're going to cut that off. And y'all don't worry about how wonky this looks right now. We're gonna be making this look beautiful, I promise. Okay, so now we just want to come over here in the middle and kind of anchor it down a place or two. Go. I think that's good. Right, next, we are going to come up here to this top rib of this pumpkin, okay, right here. And I'm just going to gather the decomash. And we're just going to lay this down in there. This isn't going to matter, y'all. It's just to kind of cover that outer edge of the pumpkin. I want to come down here. Just kind of gather this. Let's get it kind of even. We're just going to push it out of the way for now. We'll just kind of push it out of the way because we want to come right here. We want to attach this piece of mesh to this pumpkin rib right here. And we're going to come from the top. So we have something to secure it down to. Again, make sure your zip tie flat end is up. And actually, let's do it this way. We're just going to gather it, put the zip tie over this right here. We're going to lay the mesh inside of it, and then we're going to zip tie it down. That's how you do that right here. You just pull that tight. Cut that off. We can trim the excess off right there. Okay. Now we're going to flip it over to the front. Okay. We want to now push and pull all this mesh, you know, kind of like this, to where it is out of the way. All right, then I'm going to take right here. I'm going to roll that down right there, and we're going to secure. We only really need it around that outer one. We're going to secure this down right here with a zip tie, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side, just to kind of keep that out of our way. I picked the world's smallest zip tie right here, y'all. See here, I'm having trouble getting it through that little hole. Here we go. Okay. And then we're going to come down here in this corner and do the same thing again. We just really want to try to get it snug around the edges, and then the bottom part we're going to be covering with more mesh. This just helps cover that outer wire better. Okay. Just like that. And I think I'll put one right here too, guys, just to kind of clean that up a little bit. It'll make it easier when we're attaching the mesh as we wrap it back and forth on the frame, to kind of have all that stuff bunched up and secure out of the way. Okay, so I think I'm going to do the same thing up here too. I did this a little differently than the one I made before, y'all, but I think I like this way better. Okay. secure that where that's going to be out of the way, and the same thing up here, all this stuff right here. Just kind of pull that over here, twist that up, and secure it down over here in the corner. Let's see, I'll trim the excess off here in a second. There we go. That just kind of gets that all neater on the edges. Trim this piece off so it's not going to be sticking through our mesh. All right, guys. So we've just wrapped that piece of mesh around our pumpkin. Okay, now we have this piece. And what you're going to do, you're going to fold it in half. And we're going to go over each rib one at a time. So we're just going to, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be 100% exact. We're just going to fold it over, turn your mesh over, your pumpkin over, right? You want to put your piece of zip tie in here around. You can go through the mesh, but you want to come around that pumpkin rib that we're wrapping, okay? Let me get this out of the way where you can see. I just went under there and put it around that pumpkin rib. Then we folded this in half, wrapped it around, and we're going to bring it right here through that zip tie, okay? You want to pull it over and then zip tie it right here. Let's see. I hope I don't have that twisted. I don't. Okay. So you just want to turn it over, kind of make sure you have this pulled snug. Okay, you want see how it's kind of poofing out right there? Just take and pull it down, pull your mesh snug so it's laying pretty on your pumpkin rib right here. Just kind of laying over it. Pull it snug and then pull that down. Get it as tight as you can get it. Trim that off. Okay, now we're going to flip it over again. Okay, and we're going to go over that one more time. Your mesh may want to kind of roll. Just turn it over and try to keep your mesh straight each time. Okay, now we're going to kind of roll in between this rib and right here. Okay, kind of the same thing. We're just kind of putting it in half and making sure all this is kind of straight. And then we're just going to lay it right here over that rib here on the edge, and then kind of halfway over the next little rib, covering up that center point between the two. And we're going to attach this one to this next. No, actually, this one we're going to go back onto this same pumpkin rib, the first one. Okay, we're going to come down under here, find the rib, get down here to where that rib is, put your zip tie flat side up underneath the rib, bring it back up, okay, and then we're going to lay this piece of mesh in between that zip tie. Where did you go, zip tie? Right there. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and start zipping it. Lay it over again. Make sure this is where you want it. Make sure you pull any excess. Pull it kind of tight. Pull those edges to get them to where they're not poofing too much. And then you're going to zip that one down tight. We're just going to keep repeating this, y'all, over and over. Let's cut these frayed edges off so they don't stick out right here from where we initially attached it. Okay, so we're going to flip it over again. Just however that mesh wants to fold in half. go with it, okay? And again, you might have to keep turning your roll of mesh over as you're twisting it around and around. Okay, now this time we're going to go straight over this second rib, okay? Like this. Turn your pumpkin back over, gather it. Just repetitive, y'all. We're going to do the same thing over and over. Go under that second rib. Make sure your zip tie flat end is up. Come up through here. Zip tie it. Pull it just partially. And then you want to look and make sure that you've got it where you want it. Okay, you want to pull your edges especially tight and then zip tie it down. Okay. Snip that off. And then we're going to come back this way. Okay, we're going to turn our pumpkin over again. And now we're going to go between the second and the third rib. See how easy this is, y'all? Okay. We're going to come over this way. And then we're going to secure this one to the third rib up here. Flat end of your zip tie up. Go underneath the third pumpkin rib wire. Okay, then you want to bring your mesh in between your zip tie. Okay. Partially close it, turn it back over, make sure it's where you want it to be. We want it to kind of be this one over the third rib. We need to pull it. See how that's loose right there? You want to pull, not too tight though, because you don't want it to sink down into your pumpkin, but you do want to pull it tight on the edges and then pull that zip tie tight right there. And you see, each time we wrap back around, it's covering up our zip ties on the back. So it's going to make it look more neat on the back as well. Okay, so we're going to go back over where we just came from. Let's see, this time I'm going to go on this side of our pumpkin stem. Okay, we're going to try to go over the third and fourth. And this one's going to be leaning a little bit since we're coming. Actually, let's try it this way. Looks like it's leaning too much that way. Okay, let's do it. We're going to still come on this side of that pumpkin stem this time, and the next time we'll come over here. Okay, you just kind of have to play with it. It depends on, you know, the placement of your mesh, how you're going to do this up here. But we're going to turn this over. And this time we're going to come underneath the fourth rib of the pumpkin. We're not counting the outer ribs now, y'all, just the ones that are round and sticking up from the pumpkin frame. So this is the fourth rounded rib. Okay, we're going to look at it. And it's going to be a little bit crooked at the top, but that's okay because our bow is going to kind of, you know, conceal that. So we just want to kind of pull it, position it, and pull it how we want it. And then we're going to secure that zip tie down in the back. Okay. Fold your mesh in half again. Fold the pumpkin wreath over. We're always going on the front side of the pumpkin. We're not wrapping around the back, okay? It's going to save you on mesh. And it makes the pumpkin mesh stay better when you do it this way, in my opinion. All right, that one we kind of went over those last two. All right. Now we're going to come back over. Fold it in half. We're going to go between the fourth and the fifth rounded pumpkin rib. And this time we're coming over on this side. All right, and we're going to still attach this one over here to the fourth one. Okay. Got a little tiny zip tie again. But they work just as well. Make sure it's how we want it. Pull any little poofs. Zip tie it down and snip it off. Let's get rid of all these little snipped zip ties. All right, now we're going back this way. Fabric feeling mesh works best for this. That's why I love this mesh right here. You don't want one that's real stiff, like the one with the foil going through it. They're harder to use on something like this. It gets snagged on the mesh more. So try, if you can find this mesh at Hobby Lobby, I know this type of mesh works well. I would suggest using it. It feels more like a fabric than some of the other mesh. It's softer to the hands, easier to work with. Okay, this time we're coming over here to the last rib. We just got to get under there and find the actual rib of the pumpkin. Push that mesh on the side over to the side. I think I need a bigger zip tie for this one. Okay, we're just going to get underneath that rib, making sure we don't go through the mesh. We don't want the zip tie to show from the front. Okay, then we want to bring this through. We're going to put the zip tie on either side of what we just gathered. Zip it a little bit. Turn it over. Make sure, see how that's sticking out right there? I'm going to pull this over a little bit. Actually, we're going to just leave this one over this rib this time. And then you just have to kind of work with it. However, this particular wreath is turning out. I'm going to pull those edges where it's not poofing as much right there. And then we're going to pull that tight. Okay. Fold the mesh in half. Come back over. I'm going to cut that one off that we didn't cut earlier. Cut it all the way to the bottom of where you snip it off, and then it won't be so sharp right there, guys. If someone was to, you know, pick the wreath up with that part of the pumpkin form. All right, kind of fold it in half best you can. All right. And then we're going to come over this one. Okay, turn it over. I'm going to kind of tuck that back down under here a little bit. Okay. And we're going to come over here to this fifth and last rounded pumpkin rib. Go underneath it. Bring it up. And we want to take that folded mesh. This is where it gets confusing when I start doing it that way. I'm going to go ahead and pull my mesh back over this way. Makes it easier. Okay, make sure your zip tie is not twisted, flat end up. Zip it a little bit, turn it back over, pull your mesh over where you want it to be. Okay. Get any slack out of it that you might need to get. And right here, it's poofing, guys. I'm going to try to pull it up some right here to fix that. But you want to look at the front and make sure you're not pulling the mesh over too far. Let's go ahead and secure that down. And we can always fix that with another zip tie right over here, guys. Okay, now you can decide if that is covering the pumpkin enough for you, or if you want to go over it one more time. And I'm going to go back over this pumpkin one more time. So I'm going to speed up the video. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do a second layer. Okay, so here's our pumpkin. Now we're going to make our stem. Okay, for the stem, I've cut a piece of mesh 24 inches, and we're just going to let it curl in on each end, and that gets those frayed edges into the center. Okay, then we're going to take it in the middle, and we're going to put a zip tie, okay? I'm going to put a zip tie in the middle. And just clamp it down as tight as you can get it, okay? Try to make sure it's in the center as much as you can. All right, and then you want to fold it up so that part is in the middle, like so. We're going to take another zip tie, and we're going to zip tie this to our pumpkin frame. If you're really good, you could do that with one zip tie, but I don't feel that confident. So I usually take a second zip tie, bring it right through here, and we want the stem on the front so the pumpkin will lay flat up against the door. We're just going to push it down in between our zip tie, okay, like this. Y'all, how do I always manage to get my zip ties? Oh, it's not upside down. I just had it crisscrossed over. Okay, just lay that down in there with your zip tie and zip tie it onto your pumpkin. Okay, pull it tight. And we just tied it, zip tied it around the bottom part of the stem here, okay? We're going to snip that off as short as we can get it. And then we're going to take a piece of twine. Okay. Oh, I don't know how long the twine is. Probably 20 inches of twine or so. And you want to take this and wrap it from the front to the back. First, you're just going to tie it in a knot right here. And then I like to take the twine, so this won't be able to just slide. The twine won't be able to just slide off. Go underneath the stem piece on each side. Pull that tight. And you do that by crisscrossing them and pulling them toward each other. And then tie it in a knot, a double knot. Okay, and that's going to hold your stem standing upright, covering up the wire stem. It really does hang nicely from that stem right there. Okay, so there is your pumpkin stem. It's kind of whimsical, but I love it. Now we're going to make a bow. Actually, first we're going to attach our green leaves. So let me grab those, if I can figure out where I put them. Now we're going to attach our leaves next. And all we're going to do to attach these is we're going to come over here, bring it up underneath that pumpkin stem right there. Take a small zip tie, go under it. Flat end of your zip tie up. Okay, and you want to come under this string. You don't want to pull the string down into your zip tie. Let's see. Let's do this first. Let's put the zip tie. Probably be easier to go from the inside out. Flat side up. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to take this leaf, turn it with the pretty side toward the front of your wreath. We're going to go up underneath that and on top of your zip tie. Okay, just like that. And then you're going to zip tie your leaf to your wreath. Just like that. Okay, so you're going to have your leaves over here. We're going to push it down. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, we're going to get a small zip tie. We're going to come through here toward the bottom of the stem. Bring it through. Then we're going to take our other leaf, turn the front toward the front of your wreath. Going to go underneath the pumpkin wire stem and under your zip tie. Pull this little stem up through here. Make sure your leaf is turned toward the front of your pumpkin, and then you're going to zip tie it in. Okay. Trim that off. Okay. Push these down like that. Okay, then you've got your leaves. You can take and turn them if you need to get them to lay the way you want. Just grab a hold of it and kind of turn it to where you have them laying like you want. And what I do, I take a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my heat tool over here while we make our bow, because I like to tack down the leaf on each side with just a little bit of hot glue so that, you know, they won't turn upside down and all that kind of stuff. All right, let's set this to the side. And I'm going to show you how I make my bows for my pumpkin wreaths. It's just a 4-loop bow with a center loop in the middle. Okay, so we've got a 2.5-inch ribbon. We're going to do 10-inch tails. So we're going to put our ribbon in, and then we're going to turn, do one twist over here, okay? And we're going to take our ribbon, and I like to do 6-inch loops for this type of a bow. We're going to bring that over, and then we're going to do one twist, okay? 6-inch loop. Press it down, pull this over, make sure your right side of your ribbon is up, pull it out to 6-inch loops, twist in the middle, okay? Do that 2 more times. You want to use wired ribbon when you're making bows for wreaths, because then you can shape your bows and your loops will stand up pretty. If it's not wired, the bows don't turn out near as nice, okay? All right, so now we've got our 2 loops on each side that are 6 inches, and then we're going to make a center loop. Okay, instead of doing our tail like I normally would do here, if you want to have a smaller center loop in the middle of your bow, you're just going to bring this back through and make, about a 3-inch, maybe 2.5-inch loop, and that will stand up and be your little center, okay? So a little less than 3 inches. And then this side, we're going to go ahead and cut our tail. And don't worry that both tails are on the same side. I'm going to show you how you fix that when you put it on the wreath. And this is what we needed our pipe cleaner for. I'm going to fold our pipe cleaner in half. Lift your bow up out of the bow maker. Okay. Put that over the top. Pull it as tight as you can get it and twist it 3 or 4 times, probably about 3 times. Okay. Now, because we have 2 tails on the same side, the one on top, leave it the direction it's going. The one on the bottom, just take it and yank it over to this side. See how easy that was to fix that? Okay, now when I do my center loops, I just kind of fluff that up. And then we're just going to pull these 2 apart. I do like to try to get the tail underneath the ribbon, and you just kind of yank it down there to where it's below your ribbon loops, because it'll lay better when you get it on your wreath. And just kind of separate these kind of like a hair bow, okay? You can leave your loop like this, or you can take it and twist it like this, whichever way you prefer, okay? And then you're just going to round out your loops. This bow is super simple, very pretty. I like to use these types of bows on the pumpkin mesh wreaths just because it just adds a beautiful touch to the design. Okay, to dovetail, you fold the ribbon in half like a taco, and wherever your open ends are, that's where you want to cut your angle. Okay, you can either cut from the folded side up or from the open end down, either way. Okay, and that's going to be what makes your pretty dovetail. Fold it in half like a taco. If you're cutting from the open ends, you want to cut from the end of it down. If you have it this way, you want to cut up, okay? You can do it either way. Just want your open ends to be the points of your tail. Okay, so there's that. Last step is to attach our bow to our pumpkin. I usually turn it upside down for this, and I want to come down here to the bottom part of my stem, take those pipe cleaners, and just wrap it around the bottom part of your stem, flip it over. Okay, make sure you don't get your leaves in there. You just want to pull. See, I am going to come on the other side of this leaf, because if not, we're going to go underneath the leaves, y'all. Because if not, it's going to pull them up into the bow. So you want to go under your leaves. And then you just want to pull that as tight as you can get it and twist it several times to secure it. Trim it off. Okay, and then you can just tuck this pipe cleaner down in here into the mesh, just so it won't scratch the door. Just kind of tuck it out of sight, get it down in there. Okay, then we're just going to fluff our bow. I always do my final fluffing when I hang it up. Okay, all right, this is going to be so cute, y'all. I love this ribbon. You can use different patterns. Don't be afraid of mixing your patterns like this, guys. I think I want my loop to be just the way it is. I just want to fluff it. Just as long as you have coordinating colors, you can mix patterns. If you don't like mixing patterns, then just use a solid color ribbon for your bow. Or maybe one with small polka dots if you don't want anything quite this bold, okay? Last step is just to take these leaves and just tack it down on the mesh. And I forgot to turn on my hot glue tool. All right, let's see here. We're just going to tack it down. Going to cut. That little zip tie has a little bit of stuff sticking out, so I just wanted to cut that off. Take those and kind of turn them if you can, going down into your wreath to where it's not showing. I always like to tuck. See how I just whip that around where you just see the back part of it? Just take it and kind of push it without pushing your leaf. Kind of push the tip of it down and around. It just makes the back of it look more finished. There we go. Push all those little stem pieces in there like so. Okay. And then the last step will be just to tack down the leaves. You just put a little bit of glue along that spine and then push it where you want it to lay on the pumpkin, and that's all there is to it. I hope y'all give this a try. If you do, please tag me in a photo so I can see how yours comes out. If you're not already subscribing to my channel, click the bell so you'll always be notified when I put up new videos. Thanks again for watching, and y'all have a blessed day.